Well, hey, it has been a little bit, and today I'm gonna do a bit of a get ready with me because I'm not really getting ready to go anywhere, you know, because there's like a virus going on, so I have to work from home, and there's also wildfires, you know, all across the West Coast, so I can't go outside either because I have asthma and the air is bad and really bad for me, and it just, yeah, so I'm getting ready, I'm putting makeup on, but it's not to really go anywhere. I'm just going to be filming. So I'm gonna film this, and then I'm gonna film another video for YouTube, and then I'm gonna film another video for Patreon, and just work on things from home because that's all I can do. So, and I wanted to tell a couple of story times. Like, I'm telling these together because they're basically the same thing. But first I'm gonna start getting ready. It's been so long since I have put on makeup because there's really no point, but I just want to look, you know, nice for these videos. So, okay. The first thing I'm using is the ColourPop No Filter Sheer Pressed Powder in medium because I'm pale, but I'm not that pale. So these stories are about the time that I got into not one, but 2 car accidents in a month. Yeah, I know, sucks. I mean, the good thing is no one was badly hurt in either of these accidents, which is, you know, really good because I've seen some absolutely terrible accidents. The first one, and the only accident that I've ever been found to be at fault, and I was found to be at fault because of California driving laws, because it actually wasn't my fault, but because there weren't any witnesses who came forward and there were no cameras, there was no way to prove that it wasn't my fault. So I had to pay, and it went on my record. So I was 19 and I was home from my first year of college, and I was living with my grandparents that summer, and I took a summer job at PetSmart because I love animals. And, you know, I wanted to make some money other than, you know, the few gigs I had that summer. So, you know, just decided to work at a PetSmart in their pets hotel. And I have stories about that too, but I don't know if I can tell them because I don't want to get sued. So I was on my way to work, and I didn't have to take a freeway or anything to get to this location. I just had to take some, you know, main roads. And I got to an intersection, and it's I wouldn't say a major intersection, but it's an intersection. And I was at the front, like, so I was like the first car in my lane, and I was stopped because it was a red light. And then a bunch of cars got behind me because it was a weekday and, you know, people were on their way to work. I believe my shift started at 9 a.m. So it must have been about 8:40, 8:45. And, you know, there's a bunch of cars behind me, and I'm like, okay, so, oh, sorry, I used the Kylie Jenner blush in Santa's Wifey and highlighter in Sexy Santa because it's from her Christmas holiday collection. So I'm waiting at the stoplight and it turns green, and I needed to turn left because I needed to get onto another road, and I had an unprotected left, which, if you don't know what that means, it means there's no arrow, so you need to yield to the cars who, like, so if you're gonna go left, you have to wait for the cars from the other side to go straight first, and then you can go. So I'm waiting, and I see that there's one car in front, and she's not moving, even though the light is green, and she has the right of way. And I'm just like, I need to get to work. I don't have time for you to just sit there, like, what the heck? And I had a bunch of cars behind me, and in California, drivers are pretty freaking aggressive. So I knew if she didn't move and I didn't move, people were gonna start honking. So I was just like, okay, if you're not gonna go, then I'm gonna go. And so I go. And then I make a very big mistake. Don't do this ever. And this is like, it's such a minor thing, but it's what caused this accident. I looked down for literally half a second to check the time because I wanted to make sure I was on time. And even, I mean, I knew I was on time, but I'm just very like, I have to be on time or early to things. And especially because like this was my first like official job other than music, where like, you know, I call the shots with music, but you know, I had a boss I had to report to and I didn't want to be late. So I look down to the clock on my, like in my car thing, for literally half a second. That is all it took. And I hear a honk and I'm just like, what the? And I look up and the lady who had been stopped decided while I was going, and I had my blinker on, so, you know, I was indicating that I was gonna turn left. She decided to go and honked at me because we were going to collide. And I'm just like, oh my God. And so she's going straight and I'm about to turn. So basically what was gonna happen was I was turning and she was going to T-bone me on the passenger side. And what I did was I managed to swerve my car so that basically like we collided like this instead of like this. So the front left of my car got smashed and the back left side of her car also got smashed. And now I was driving my grandpa's car. It was actually my mom's car before it was his. It was a Chrysler minivan, and it's actually the first car that I learned to drive in. And so like I was pretty confident with it. And I'm just like, oh my God, I just crashed my grandpa's car, what the heck? And like as soon as we collided, I did what you're supposed to do. I, you know, first made sure that the car could still go, it could, and I turned left and I pulled over to a side, to the side, like basically into the bicycle lane. And I was like, okay, you know, like, because we had to clear the road. And I see that, you know, like cars are still like going and stuff, even though there's like debris, people are swerving around it. And the lady also, like, she went straight and then pulled over to the bike lane. And I cross the street once it's safe, and I just like go over to her to make sure like she's okay. And, you know, like I felt fine. Like I felt some whiplash, but that didn't really hit until later. And other than that, like I felt fine. Like I felt very shaky, like, whoa, I was just in an accident, but I felt very calm, oddly enough. And I go over, and this lady, like, she must have been maybe like in her 40s. She was like basically having a breakdown. Like she was crying, she was shaking, it was bad. And at the time I was like, why? Like I didn't say this, of course, but I'm thinking like, why is she crying? Why is she freaking out? Like we're both fine. Neither of the cars are totaled. Like it was a little brush and it was her fault. Like why is she crying? Like what the heck? And you know, later on I realized like maybe she'd been in an accident before. Maybe she has really, really bad anxiety. You know, like who knows? You can't judge. So at the time I was like, what the heck is wrong with this lady? But now I'm like, you know what? I don't know her background. I don't know her story. So, you know, I can't judge. I'm putting on the Precisely My Brow Pencil in the shade 6 because I have black eyebrows. So I go over to her and I ask her if she's okay, and she's just like, like she literally couldn't talk. And luckily enough, a police officer was like, they didn't see the accident happening, but they were basically there. So they came over or it was a female police officer, and she, you know, took her statements and wrote a police report so that we could send it to our insurances, and that's basically what we did. And I called my mom, of course, because I was like, I was just in an accident, and she came with my grandpa, who like hugged me. Like he did not care that his car was smashed. Like he just hugged me, and like it was so sweet. And I still went to work. Like my mom asked me like, do you think you can still go to work? And I was like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna go to work. I'm fine. Like I'm a little in pain, but I'm fine. And my mom was like, you know what, I'm gonna go with you. And I'm glad she did, because my boss at PetSmart was an absolute jerk. Yeah, I have stories about that too. But she was not a nice person, not a considerate person. And she was one of those like people who likes to be in charge of people so that they can bully them, like that kind of person. And so I walk in, and my mom walks in behind me, and she goes up to my boss because she knew who she was, and she shows her the police report and said like, hey, just so you know, like Gabby was in a car accident. Hold on, I'm putting on the Gimme Brow in shade 5 because again, really dark eyebrows. So she's like, Gabby was in a car accident. Here's the police report in case you think she's making it up. And, you know, I just want to make sure that, you know, if she needs an extra break or if she needs to go home early, that you will let her. And my boss was like, oh, okay. And, you know, of course, she was a jerk for the rest of the day, of course. But, you know, I was okay. And then after my shift, because I worked, I think like a 4-hour shift, like mid-afternoon, my mom took me to urgent care just to get me checked out. And it turned out that, yeah, I did have whiplash. And it sucked because, you know, working in the Pets Hotel, I had to be with dogs all day, which is fun, but when you're with really big dogs, they jump on you and that hurts when you have whiplash. So, you know, that sucked. But I mean, obviously I wasn't gonna get mad at the dogs. Like, they were excited. I love dogs, you know, that's fine. But it did hurt when like 110-pound Doberman like basically tried to jump onto my back and I was like, but you know, what can you do? Oh, I'm lining my lips with the Kylie lip liner in Candy K. So basically, even though I gave this woman the right of way and she didn't go, so I decided to go, it was still my fault that I hit her. Even though like it was like she didn't go and she should have gone, so I decided to go, so she then should have yielded to me. In California, that's not how it works. I had an unprotected left, so it's my fault. So my insurance had to pay for her medical bills. The insurance had to pay my medical bills, had to pay to fix our cars, and it went up and it left a mark on my record, which is just great. But you know what? In the end, we were all okay. Cars are replaceable, and that's what matters. And then a month later, or less than a month later, I want to say like 3.5 weeks later, I was on my way to the studio with my mom and I was in her car. And don't remember if I mentioned this earlier, but the car I was driving, my grandpa's car, was a Chrysler SUV. Like a big whale van, basically. In this instance, we were in my mom's car, which is a sedan. Like it's a tiny car. It's not a minivan. It's not an SUV. So we were in her sedan and we were on our way to the studio because I was recording a song that day. And we were driving in San Jose. If you're from San Jose, you know we were on the east side. And like that just says it like right there. And we were driving on, like, I feel more comfortable giving the streets because like San Jose is such a big city, but we were on Capitol Expressway. And we were just approaching Aborn and we were gonna get on 101 from there. And we're driving and there is a bright orange Prius in front of us and it was a brand new car. Like, it didn't even have like plates yet, like brand new car. And then behind us there wasn't anyone. And so the light turns red, or it turns yellow and then it turns red, so we, you know, slow down and then we stop. The lip color I'm gonna put on is Dose of Colors in Flirty. We stop and my mom and I are just, you know, like talking as the light's red, blah, blah, blah. And then my mom looks in the rear view mirror and she's just like, oh my God. And I'm like, what? And I look in the rear view mirror and I see a minivan. And we knew it wasn't gonna stop. Like, we were just like, oh crap. And in the like, I want to say half a second to second we had to react. We couldn't like swerve left because there were cars in that lane, and we couldn't swerve right because there was a sidewalk with people. So, I mean, even if there hadn't been people, I don't think my mom would have swerved to the right. But, you know, we're stuck. We're like, crap, we're about to get rear-ended by a big car and there's nothing we can do. So after my accident the previous month, I learned that when you're in an, like, if you are aware that an accident's about to happen, you need to relax your body, because if you tense up, the whiplash is gonna be that much worse. And so in that like literal second I had to react, like the following 3 things went through my head. 1, great, I'm about to be in another car accident. 2, why isn't this lady stopping? And 3, relax. And so I just like let my body go limp. The lady hits us and she must have been going like 20 Like, she wasn't going super fast, even though on Capitol, like, people easily go 60. But, you know, she, I guess, had enough time to slow down that she hit us maybe at like 20. And so I feel the impact, and I just feel my body go, and then I go back. And also, and I just heard my mom like gasp and just be like, ah! Because she didn't know that, so she tensed up. And yeah, we wait for a second. Oh, and we hit the car in front of us. That's why I mentioned the brand new bright orange Prius with no plates. We hit it. So like we wait a bit and we're just like, okay, like, are we okay? I was fine. I mean, I was in pain because like my whiplash had just been like reactivated. And my mom was just like in shock, basically. Even though it wasn't that bad of an impact, like she was in shock. So like I asked her, like, do you want me to call an ambulance? Like, do you want me to call 911? And she was like, just give me a second. And then the lady in the car in front of us goes over to my mom and she's like, what's wrong with you guys? Are you guys stupid? Like, you just hit my car. Don't you ever speak to my mother in that way, because let me tell you, I will eat you. So I look at this lady and I just look at her like with this death glare, and I'm like, we were just hit by the car behind us, so go talk to them. And the lady's just like, oh, and like, you know, walks away. Like, you know, entitled Prius drivers, that's just how they are. So she goes over and talks to this lady, and it turns out that it was a mom who had like 3 young kids in the car, and she was like, I'm so sorry, my kids distracted me, like, oh my gosh. And none of our cars had enough damage that like we had to call a tow truck or anything, but we went we drove into a parking lot to like exchange insurance and all of that. When like my mom and I realized that she was gonna hit us, my mom was like, is she on her phone? So when she said like, oh, my kids distracted me, like, no, we're pretty sure she was looking at her phone. And so she didn't see the cars in front of her stopping, and that's why she hit us. She had kids in the car too. Like, why would you be on your cell phone when you have children in the car? Like, so that was a thing. Once we got to the parking lot, my mom really wasn't looking good. Like, she was getting pale. So I called 911 and they put me on hold. Thank you, San Jose, California, for putting me on hold for 911. Ever since I moved out of San Jose, like, just everything has gone downhill, just saying. But yeah, so I stayed on hold for like 5 minutes, and finally someone picked up and was like, 911, like, what's your emergency? And I'm like, yeah, hey, like, I was just in a car accident and my mom's not doing too well, like, could you send an ambulance? And at that point, like, because it had been like 5 minutes, my mom was like, you know what, just cancel it, like, it's fine. And so then I say, you know what, never mind, we're fine. And the guy's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, we're okay. And so thank you, 911, for being useless. Okay, the last thing I'm gonna put on before setting spray is my Fenty Beauty mascara in, well, it's the full frontal mascara, and it's in 'Cause I'm Black, which I think she has more shades now, but I like to wear the black one because I also have black eyelashes, so it just works really well. I don't remember if my mom and I went to urgent care. I do remember we canceled my studio session that day because there was no way I could sing after having been in another car accident. Like, I just remember I called my producer and I was just like, hey, guess what? And he was like, what? I was in another car accident. And he's like, Gabby, are you kidding me? And I'm like, and so we just rescheduled and it was fine. But like, that sucked because I was really looking forward to that. But you know, it got done. The song got recorded. I don't even remember what song it was that I recorded, but it got done. And actually, it may have been Shy, now that I think of it, because it was 2014. So it may have been Shy that we were gonna record, but yeah. Yeah, we didn't go to the hospital or urgent care or any of that. The lady in front of us didn't have to go. The lady who hit us didn't have to go, and her insurance ended up paying for everything because it was very clearly her fault. And I hope she learned her lesson that you do not look at your phone while driving ever, especially if you have children in the car, and especially if these children are still in booster seats. Like, literally, like, these kids were like 3, 1, and like a few months old. Like, I don't understand people. But yeah, that, oh, I just got mascara on my eyelid. So that is the story of the 2 car accidents I got into in the summer of 2014. Obviously, the one that I was in with my mom didn't go on my record. I was just a passenger. And I guess it went on her record, but like she wasn't at fault, so like it didn't impact her negatively. But the accident I was in where like the lady and I collided, that stayed on my record for, I want to say I think it's 3 years. So once I was 22, it was removed, and I got my first car, I think when I was 22, 23. So yeah, because I just finished college, so I was 22 when I got my first car. And when I applied for insurance, because the accident was already wiped from my record, I ended up getting, and also because I had a very old used car. Like, I'm talking, this car was almost as old as me. Since it was such an old car, the insurance I got ended up being really, really, really cheap, because at that point my record was clean, and my record has remained clean. I haven't been in another accident since. I've been a passenger in one more, and that is another story I'm going to tell at another time, because that one's a long one. that one has a lot of details. Like, just to like give you an idea, like it involved me working for a company that ended up actually being more of a cult, and the girl who like was driving had her license for literally like 2 months, and like I had to go to the emergency room via ambulance, and just it was a lot. And that is another story for another time, because it's just a lot. Like this, just telling you 2 stories has taken me like 20 minutes. So this one, like, this is another one. But okay, I'm using the Urban Decay setting spray in Chill. I don't think they make this anymore, and I'm gonna be really sad when I run out. So I'm just, you know, I'm trying not to use this because I want it to last, but at the same time I also don't want it to expire. So this is what I'm using. Giving myself a shower, even though I just took one, as you can probably tell, because my hair is soaking wet. Okay. All right, this is what I look like with makeup for the first time in a while. Yay. I really like this lip color. It's my first time wearing it. Very pretty. I love Joseph colors. So those are my 2 stories about the times that I was in car accidents. One was my fault, technically, even though it really wasn't. And the other one I was just a passenger in, but it was still traumatic because I was in 2 car accidents in literally a month. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to be one of the first to know when I post more content, of course, please subscribe. I also have a Patreon where I only post music related things, because it's music related stuff, while YouTube is more music and story times and fitness and lifestyle and all that fun stuff. Thanks for watching again, and I'll see you in the next one.